Welcome to Hot Take Thursday, where we answer a listener's question related to the episode that we released on Tuesday. Just a reminder, we might not always be right, but we certainly have opinions. Hey, Andrea.
Hey, Jess.
Okay, here's our question. Before actually I read the question, do you want to remind our listeners what we talked about on Tuesday in case they haven't listened to it, and they're going to go back and listen to it, though, after this?
Yes. Well, what we were supposed to talk about was mindfulness. And part of what we talked about was that, but part of what we talked about was like the wee little intervention that we were trying to do for my friend Jessica, who is so busy and running on fire recently. And I know it was only a couple days ago, but anything shift for you? Any openness? Any reaction to the conversation, actually? How are you feeling about me?
I have a lot of dry shampoo in my hair right now because I'm so busy. No, saves time, right? Instead of washing my hair. Any insights? I think that my biggest takeaway from our episode that we released is that maybe, just maybe, I am resistant to change. Maybe. And Google told me that sometimes being mindful is harder for people who have very fast-paced lives. And they are resistant to change. And I thought, okay, even Google understands me.
Oh, good. I hope you think I understand you, but also
God,
Google.
Of course you
that
do.
Feels good.
Of course. So I have been actually sitting with that a little bit, that whole resistant to change thing. And then also reflecting back on a conversation that I had with my sister when she was in town, who said, maybe just don't like to sit down because then you got to think about stuff, Jess. And I was like, I don't have anything to think about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow. Called out in the way only a sister can.
Only a sister can. My friends can't do that. My sister can do that because then I can call it right back at her. But so I have lots to think about right now, one of which is scheduling downtime.
Good. I love that for you.
You like that?
I love that for you.
Good.
Yeah.
I will send emails now or text messages that will be like, hey, I've been on the couch for 8 hours. Hope you didn't want me to do anything.
That's probably not true.
It won't happen. I wish it would. Okay. Dear honest women, I am struggling with mindfulness as a parent. I feel like I was really good at being present when I was single. But since getting married and having kids, I just feel like a big failure. I keep losing my shit with 2 toddlers, and I just want to do better.
Our listener, okay, I so relate to this, right?
I'm like, I can't give advice. I am you.
Right. Totally.
Minus the toddlers, but...
Well, I can put myself back there really easily, right?
Me too.
And I remember the pressure that I put on myself as a new parent with little kids was so tremendous. This was definitely fueled by the internet, not social media for me at the time because I am old. But
yeah, we didn't have it.
Yeah, Baby Center and the message boards and stuff. And I'd read a lot about being like a good mom. And that meant being mindful and present. And I struggled with that so much, I think, because being mindful would open me up to something I was really struggling in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I was distracted a lot and I used to judge myself a lot. I distinctly remember like hiding in the bathroom, reading an article on my phone about being mindfully present with my children while they're like knocking on the door and trying to get to me. And I'm like, lay off, I'm trying to read about being a mindful parent. I think that I needed some distraction to deal with how difficult things were.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I think distraction is a big one. I go back to that time and I still get the comment, but I don't even hear it as much anymore. But the whole notion of enjoy it goes so fast. Ugh. That haunts me sometimes. Mm-hmm. And you get told that more when your babies are little or you're just more sensitive to hearing that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. However,
you get told that for
right?
sure. Yeah.
All the time. And now that my kids are older, I'm like, I get it, right? I totally get it. But at that time, when they were little and everybody kept saying, oh, enjoy it, I'm like, fuck off.
Right.
I am barely surviving
Yep.
my day to day. It is not fast. It is slow as molasses here. Like pouring it, it's just like, ooh, it's like the sloth in Zootopia. We just watched that me and my kids the other day, and he's like, "Mer, mer." Like that's how I know, but that's how it felt. And so this whole concept of how can I be mindful when I'm like drowning?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's a really unrealistic expectation, to be honest.
It is. And I think you captured again this what we're thinking it means to be mindful. It means like aware moment to moment of every sparkling detail, only having positive feelings and somehow experiencing it so fully that I will like never not be in this moment, that I will have locked their precious little toddler selves into a vault that I can like carry with me forever. Like, what the fuck? That is
No.
not real. That is
No.
not real. If you're being mindful as a parent, you're going to notice how like noisy and grabby and stinky and completely unreasonable and needy and whatever, and delightful and charming and funny and whatever that your kids are. But it's the whole gamut.
Well, and it brings me back to something you said on Tuesday that I thought was really important is that we often link being mindful with being happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not the case. And you will fail every single time if you lump those two together.
Yeah.
Because sometimes being mindful is just taking a deep breath as you're washing the dishes. That's not happiness.
Right.
That is just settling your system. So I think we really have to be mindful of what we're telling ourselves and what expectations or what goals we're setting for ourselves. This is also why every mother in the entire world loves their kids when they're sleeping.
Yes.
That actually, now that we're talking through this, that is when you're mindful the most.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I actually encourage this mom to do. We're trying so hard in the chaos to be mindful. And I don't know, it's like trying to like take deep breaths in the middle of like a freaking war zone. Like, no, you have got to like make sure you're okay and getting through it. But you walk into their room when they're sleeping or, oh, don't you remember rocking? Like I do miss that. Oh, I miss rocking my babes.
Yeah.
Right? They would like, they would rock me now, but like rocking them. But that is where that moment happens. It's in the quiet, and it can be when they're not awake.
Yeah. And then 3 seconds later, they barf in your face. And you will also be mindful to that. That's the thing is that, you know, as Jess is describing it, I think what we are willing to accept as mindfulness is that moment where how we want to feel and how we do feel align. I want to feel in love with my kids. I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel all of these centered and grounded and calm, all these things. When I do feel that way, I go, oh, look, I'm mindful. That's not true that it's one moment of being mindful. When your kid is screaming at you because you got the red cup and not the blue cup, but they asked for the red cup and now they want the blue cup, and you're in that moment and you're flooded and you're frustrated and whatever, if you're aware of that and actually just open to it, you are also being mindful. If you're aware of that in a way that you don't feel like you have to change, that's mindfulness, right? So presence, being present in the moment doesn't mean being happy in the moment. It means being like, imagine yourself just open in all of your senses to what's happening. And sometimes we're lucky enough that the way that we feel is the way that we want to feel, but that's not our only mindful moment.
Beautifully stated. And I think it's such an important piece to say that sometimes it's being mindful, like you said, of how we're feeling, which can be exhausted, stressed, nervous, angry, sad, frustrated. It can be all of those things, but we can't give ourselves what we need or reach out to somebody for help, assistance if we're not mindful, if we don't sit with how am I actually doing?
Yes, it's so true. And when you have toddlers, probably not well. You need help. You need rest. Nobody is supposed to be with toddlers all day long. Actually, Jess, fun fact that I think that you'll love. Remember when we were talking about Jonathan Haidt's book and he was talking about how important a play-based childhood is? So I learned a fun fact on the internet, so it's definitely true, that our ancestors, it was on Instagram too, so it's 100% truth.
Oh my God, totally, obviously gonna
I'll send it to you. It seems reputable. But our ancestors, like all throughout human history, young, the children, the babies and older, young people like ruled themselves essentially. The post was like, do you hate playing with your kids? Good, because you're not supposed to like to play with your kids. Like adults are made for work and rest. And what used to happen is kids from like how until the point that they had turned into adults and had to work all the way down to the babies, they used to just take care of each other. And that met the needs of the whole group. So if you imagine that you could have your toddlers and then there would be like a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, 2 16-year-olds, and they'd all be taking care of those fools. And all you had to do was go do your job and then take a rest. I mean, that's what we're made for. So this whole bananas situation that we have where you're probably with your 2 toddlers 12 or 14 hours a day with no break. And you're trying to engage them in activities because you want to be a mindful parent and you're centering their craziness. And like, we were never meant for that. So give yourself a break a little bit, right?
I feel like you're validating my experience in life. And I'm like, okay, I never liked getting on the ground and playing with my kids because I wasn't ever supposed to. Oh, it's so validating.
You were never supposed to. Yeah. And so I think that's another thing is that, I mean, maybe this mom is struggling with some of the very normal things. Like, I don't like playing with my kids all day. I'm bored, right?
You're not supposed to.
You know, that's, let's be mindful about that. You are bored, you know, or like someone screaming in my face. I don't like it. Yeah. That you can be mindful about that too.
If you said, I love getting screamed at, I love getting puked on, I love getting slapped or bit or hit, I love it. I'd be like, what are you on and how do I get it?
Right. Right.
All right, my friend, what do you think? Hot take?
Hot take.
All right. We'll see you on Tuesday, ladies.